Morning. The sky, covered with clouds, promised rain. Suddenly a heavy downpour began, thunder rumbled, lightning flashed, but the summer rain slowly gave way to the flying wind, which quickly dispersed the clouds. Running away, they cleared the sky for the rays of the already rising sun. Alexei Nikolaevich opened his eyes. His wife was still sleeping, sweetly smacking her lips in her sleep. He looked at the beautiful face of his beloved woman. How beautiful she is, I love her so much. Alexei Nikolaevich's first wife died 5 years ago from asthma. Attempts to save her were unsuccessful. She could not bear children. Knowing that her husband was healthy and his desire to have a child further aggravated her guilt and her failing health. Earlier, as a student, before meeting Alexei, she had a secret abortion at home, and here are its consequences: infertility. She did not confess to her husband for a long time, then she fell ill, asthma progressed, and confession was no longer necessary. Before her death, she finally confessed to her husband about her infertility and endless lies, justifying herself by the fact that she loved him very much. She asked for forgiveness, knowing that neither he nor God would forgive her sin. Alexei Nikolaevich, having become a widower, thought, did I love my wife? I could not find an answer. Why did she lie for so long? I would understand. Well, she made a mistake in her youth. Everything can be forgiven, but not a lie. She passed away, and there was emptiness in his soul. The years flew by like a whirlwind. There are no children, and he is far from a boy. Short-term relationships with women did not bring him happiness. Not one of them became dear and close to him in spirit. He recently turned 44. More than 2 years ago, he met a woman on the train when he was returning from a business trip, 8 years younger than himself. Beautiful, charming, cheerful, with a sense of humor, she immediately sank into his soul. She lived not far away, but in another city. They dated for about 4 months. He came to her, she came to him. Alexei fell in love with Tatyana, that was her name, and soon proposed to her. He knew that she liked him, but was unexpectedly rejected. Tatyana, knowing about his past life, said, "Forgive me, but I can't deceive you. I was married. As a child, I fell through the ice while skating. I was saved, I was sick, and as a result of this cold, I can't have children. However, my husband and I broke up for a different reason. He loved vodka more than me." Tatyana's confession puzzled the man, but 2 weeks later he proposed to her again. "I guess I'm not destined to have children, and it's too late. I fell in love with you, thank you for telling the truth. How do you feel about me? Tell it like it is." Tatyana hugged Alexei by the shoulders. "I love you too. To be honest, I have never known true love in my life. It's up to you to decide." They got married. They have been together for almost 2 years now. Alexei believed that Tatyana was his destiny. The clock struck 7 in the morning. Tatyana opened her eyes, stretched sweetly with a smile on her face, and kissed her husband. "You are not sleeping?" "No, I was looking at you and admiring you. What a blessing that I have you." In the evening, Alexei Nikolaevich flew off on a business trip to Moscow. Working as a chief engineer at an aircraft plant, he had special powers and possessed unrivaled authority. Tatyana worked as a psychologist in one company. All day long, the wife fed her husband, preparing him various delicacies. The doorbell rang. Tatyana, opening the door, saw Alexei's friend, who was also the head of the technical department of the aircraft plant. Alexei was surprised. Did something happen? The cheerful and clever Peter answered, "Don't worry. There are some questions on the way to the airport. We'll discuss them. I've let your car go. We'll go in my Jeep and talk at the same time. I hope you don't mind?" "No, but we seem to have discussed everything." "Okay, go down, I'll be right out." Alexei said goodbye to his wife, kissed her, promising that he would be back soon. "Okay, darling, I'll be waiting. I love you. Call when you're about to board." "Bye, my love." "Okay. I'll call." The door closed. Having gone outside, Alexei got into the Jeep. "Let's go, so what's the matter?" Peter began to clarify some questions about the drawings once again, so that Alexei would not forget. My dear friend, what's wrong with you? You know that I'm well prepared. I've eaten a dog at my job. You're testing me like a schoolboy. Alyoshka, nothing, I just decided to see you off. What are you, my young lady? Some kind of miracles. Already at the airport, Pyotr was really nervous like a girl. There was more than half an hour left before check-in. Well, talk already, Alexei repeated mockingly with a smile. Don't interrupt me, please. Alexei, you'll return your ticket, we'll call. Your wife is on a date with a pilot. He will come to her home. I have hinted to you before that she is quite free in communication with men, but you did not want to listen, ready to tear me to shreds rather than believe me. Many people at the plant are gossiping about your wife's infidelity. Some saw her with a civilian man, others with a pilot, maybe even with more than one. I cannot have your name being dragged around by all sorts of gossips. You are a well-known person in the city and these conversations must be stopped. In terms of time, this has been going on for more than 6 months. You know, when I was given a recording of the conversation between the pilot and your wife on the phone, I no longer doubted. Trust, but verify, says the popular proverb. If I lie, do with me what you want. You can spit in my face later, smash my face, I'll put up with it, but I want you to figure it out yourself. It's not right, I'm offended and hurt for you. You have the key to the apartment, you'll quietly enter after 1 in the morning. You'll figure out the rest yourself. I beg you, control yourself, I beg you. Pyotr fell silent. Alexei was silent, then quietly said, Are you crazy? What kind of games are these? Well, I don't believe it, I see how she treats me. She's sincere, even in bed she constantly tells me about her love and is happy that I met her on her way. I can't even imagine for a moment that she can lie so skillfully. This is some kind of nonsense. Go to hell. The announcer announced check-in for the flight to Moscow. Alexei stood up, checked in the ticket, and returned to Pyotr again. Come on, leave, I'm waiting, otherwise we'll quarrel, do you understand me? Pyotr leaned over, sitting in the chair, understanding that this news had already blown Alexei's mind, and now he still had to go home and check. So Petya, as I understand, you have a ticket for this flight? Pyotr nodded. Go, hand in the ticket and leave. You don't even understand what a humiliating position you've put me in, no, you've plunged me into shit. Pyotr understood everything in his soul. He could even imagine himself in his place. It's really difficult for a decent man to understand and accept such a challenge, and what's more, to go spy. Alyoshka, forgive me, time will tell, if you're not ready today, then fly to Moscow. He patted his friend on the shoulder, wishing him a soft landing, and left. Squeezing his head with his hands, Alexei madly did not want to believe in his wife's betrayal. His thoughts were confused. He felt a wild pain in his chest. After taking a pill, he realized that the stone had been thrown, and it was not so easy to catch it and throw it out of his heart. They announced boarding for the plane. Alexei was sitting in a chair. A few minutes later the announcer announced the name of the late passenger who had checked in and invited him to board. Alexei, without unclenching his hands, with his head down, continued to sit. What should I do? I won't be able to work in peace in Moscow. Dirty thoughts are eating my brain. He dialed his wife's number on the phone and confirmed in a calm voice, That's it, I'm flying, bye. He heard the joyful voice of his wife, wishing him a safe journey. Alexei sat in the waiting room for more than 2 hours. He still hadn't returned his ticket. He went outside. It was drizzling again, covering the asphalt with a wet film of water, in which the glare from the light of the burning street lamps was reflected. The air, saturated with the freshness of the rain, seemed to calm his face. His head was hurting terribly, his thoughts were voicing the same question, what to do? Inside, his mind was telling him go home, his soul was protesting you don't want this truth, you're afraid of it, however, you still have to decide something, his mind was stupidly repeating. Alexei took a taxi and went home. Having climbed to the 5th floor of a house built in Stalin's times, with high ceilings, columns, and various stucco decorations, he stopped on the landing. His heart was pounding loudly, veins were pulsating in his temples. He stood by the door for more than half an hour, but there was no point in hesitating. He quietly entered the hallway, seeing someone else's men's shoes standing there. Gathering all his will into a fist, he ordered himself, I'm calm, now I only need endurance." His face seemed to have turned to stone, his dull gaze was free of any emotions. Alexei understood, first of all, calm, imperturbability, hidden contempt, no hysteria. This would be the strongest blow, like a knockout. But thoughts frightened him, anger, jealousy, rage boiled up. But, no, this is not mine. I know what to do. He put on soft slippers, went into the living room. The round table, set for an evening dinner, had an unsightly appearance. An open bottle of unfinished cognac, a drunk bottle of champagne rested on the table. Beautiful plates with the remains of food. Chica, carefully cleaned, ironed and hung on a chair in the living room. In the hallway, he cleaned his shoes and put them next to his clothes. He carefully ironed his wife's robe and hung it next to his men's clothes. Quietly stepping on the soft carpet, he approached the bedroom door, opened it slightly, and saw the loving couple in each other's arms. The man's hand rested on his wife's white, luxurious chest. The bedroom was a little stuffy. The Chinese silk sheets barely covered their naked bodies. A mask of pleasure and complete sexual satisfaction froze on the lovers' faces. His wife's shamelessness knocked him off track. It was as if the devil had entered Alexei's body, covered his eyes, plugged his ears and turned him into a stone monster. Having closed the door, Alexei headed to the kitchen, tiredly sat down on a chair, thoughts leaving his mind. There was a silent emptiness inside. It was as if he was chained to the chair. His tongue stopped obeying him. It seemed to Alexei that the life was dying in him. The wall clock showed 3 o'clock in the morning, the time for deep sleep and amazing dreams had come. Dawn was just breaking outside the window, the mysterious darkness reluctantly but slowly retreated. Opening the refrigerator, he took out the necessary products for preparing breakfast. Within an hour, the prepared breakfast was waiting for the guests in the dining room, in which the rich aroma of brewed coffee was already floating. Coffee, poured into cups, stood on a tray. Alexei, taking the tray with coffee, headed to the bedroom, quietly entering, approached the vacationers, and said louder than usual, "Please, hurry up, your clothes are cleaned and ironed in the living room. I'm waiting for you in the dining room for breakfast." Opening their eyes, the wife and her lover looked in bewilderment at the man standing in front of them. Probably, the interrupted deep sleep did not allow them to immediately figure out what had happened, where the husband appeared from in the bedroom. "Have a cup of coffee, it will cheer you up." He quietly went out the bedroom door. It is difficult, and there is no need to talk about the shock that completely covered the couple in love. Half an hour later, both of them, first the pilot, then the wife, appeared in the doorway of the dining room. The state of the lovers was assessed as no less shocking than in the bedroom. "Please come to the table, it is time for an early breakfast, I think you are hungry." "My dear, have a cup of coffee, you like to drink coffee in the morning, I brewed it just like you like." "Please come to the table, everything is hot, eat, here are some warm croissants with coffee, just warmed up in the microwave. Enjoy your meal." Alexei's impenetrable face, as if dressed in a stone mask, calmly looked at his wife and the man. The pilot, as a man of a masculine profession, did not fuss, mostly remained silent, realizing that no words could explain his presence here. He sat down at the table and decided to have breakfast. His wife, without a single drop of blood on her pale face, looked at her husband in fear, as if she had lost the power of speech. Only thoughts were feverishly scrolling through her head. Why is he silent? Let him yell at me, call me a whore, hit me, but he is silent, I can go crazy. I was never afraid of him, why am I now overcome by unbearable horror? My heart is covered with ice. Every cell of my body is trembling in fear, because it does not know what will happen next. I am shivering and I am afraid. What's the matter, darling? You don't want coffee? I tried for you. Drink, he said sharply and insistently. With a trembling hand, taking the cup, she began to drink coffee, her teeth, like a small hammer, knocked on the edge of the cup. Alexei remained absolutely calm, only inside his thoughts were restrained by words of disgust and contempt for his wife. Having finished breakfast, the pilot got up from the table, thanked Alexei, and asked, "Will you allow me to leave?" "Of course, you are free to go," Alexei answered calmly, with an almost invisible grin. The pilot went to the hallway, pulled the door handle, but it was locked. He returned without entering the dining room, realizing that he would not be able to leave through the door. The only way to leave was through the balcony. The 5th floor was high. Looking from the balcony, he saw below, almost under him, an iron fence with sharp spears on top. The house was asleep. There is no other way out, the pilot thought mournfully. Having overcome the 4th floor, he reached the 3rd floor. Inside, strangely enough, a tremor reigned. The calm of the owner surprised him and led him to gloomy thoughts. It would be better if he shouted, hit me, insulted me with the worst words, the pilot thought, but his ominous silence was worse than torture. His nerves were giving in. Throwing his leg over the balcony, he felt the edge of the balcony fall off. His leg W. Room from corner to corner, she rushed around the apartment like a cornered animal. Clutching her temples with her hands, she thought feverishly, "Oh God, what should I do? He will not forgive me. How could I invite a lover to my apartment? Madness. In my husband's eyes I see a sentence for myself, death. I seem to hear his words, you have committed a terrible meanness. Atone for it." She said something, addressing her husband, but he did not react. Alexei was sitting on a chair in the kitchen, his head down, not hearing or seeing anyone. Tired of useless tossing, despair and endless fear, she ran into the bathroom. Opening the door of the bottom drawer of the dressing table, she saw a bottle of vinegar essence. Unconsciously, not controlling herself, being in a semi-fainting state, she drank half the bottle in one gulp and collapsed on the floor. A wild pain in her throat gripped her face, she choked, hoarsely screamed and called for help, but there was silence. The walls, impervious to sound, were silent. A woman with a distorted face writhed in agony on the floor, her hand scratched her face in the hope of somehow helping herself, her eyes, exhausted from fear and pain, asked for help. A few minutes and she no longer screamed, only a terrible wheeze filled the room with an incomprehensible, desperate sound. The bathroom was empty. Having made the last sound, similar to a wheeze, she fell silent in a death throe. Severe pain and shock caused her breathing to stop. Death brought her relief. After some time, Alexei entered the bathroom. He stood with an indifferent face, examining his wife's face, which was so beautiful until recently, now turned into a disfigured mask. Coming out of the bathroom, he felt that his legs, as if chained, moved poorly. Numb hands, with difficulty dialed the ambulance number on the phone, then the police number. Having given the address, the last name, he muffledly said, "Come, there is a woman's body in the apartment, a man's body near the house, hung up." He opened the door in the hallway, sat down on a chair, his head was breaking into pieces, as if a tight hoop was whispering to him a promise to tear his head into small pieces. He leaned against the wall and began to wait for the ambulance and the police. There was a trial. The judge transferred the case of the convicted A.N. Sevagin, for the first time in 20 years of judicial practice seemed strange and unusual, had to solve a difficult problem. The judge is a woman, she had to twist a lot of painful thoughts in her head, dig through many court cases about adultery in the family, but this case did not give a clear answer. What decision to make? The article's murder does not fit. He did not kill, his victims passed their own sentence. Someone may object, he morally pushed them. During the interrogation, the investigator with the convicted person, included in the protocol, obviously, Alexei Nikolaevich did not hide the fact that having seen with his own eyes his wife's betrayal, he seemed to have lost his mind. Everything he told, just confirmed that there could not have been any violence. He never raised his voice, tried with external calm and strange silence to prove to the lovers, first of all to his wife, that betrayal and treason are already a crime against the family. His strange actions, cleaning clothes, breakfast, coffee and a closed door were necessary so that this couple, especially the wife, understood the meanness of what they had done. He could not foresee that such a tragedy would happen to them. Yes, he closed the door, turned off the home phone, took away their mobile phone so that they would feel the same torment, the same pain that he had to endure. Of course, after a certain time, he would have let the pilot go and kicked his wife out of the house. But when the tragedy with his wife and her lover had already happened, his help was useless, although he could have sent his wife to the hospital, which he regrets that he did not do, let her live with what she had done herself. The most experienced lawyer in the city took on the defense of Sevagina N, and they presented the facts of the past life of Alexei Nikolaevich wife to the court. The former prostitute, servicing clients for money, was married. The ex-husband, having learned that his wife was constantly cheating on him, drank himself to death out of grief. Tatiana kicked him out of the apartment and into the street. He became a homeless person, spent the night wherever he could, and was killed in one of the street fights. The wife's legend that she once fell through the ice as a child and became barren for this reason was not confirmed by her relatives. The life of a prostitute made her barren. Having learned these details from the lawyer, Alexei was simply shocked. After all, he fell in love with her, lost his head, and did not want to know anything. He believed her. Perhaps she wanted to change her life, but her past life was pulling. X and his escapes from his mistresses through the balconies are nothing new to her. She believed that it was an accident, maybe God himself decided to punish the sinner. Before making a decision, the judge gave the defendant the last word. During the time he was under investigation, Alexei Nikolaevich seemed to have aged. His grey temples spoke of the suffering he had experienced, which he would not even wish on his enemy. He regretted the tragedy that had happened, because the intention of bringing them physical illness was not part of his plans. He expressed condolences to the pilot's wife about the death of her husband. Notified his lawyer about the transfer of a significant amount of money to his wife for the maintenance of the children. And he will continue to help them. The court retired to pass sentence. The verdict of the court, not guilty, because there is no corpus delicti. Sevagina An is to be released from custody in the courtroom. The courtroom greeted the court's decision, standing, thereby expressing gratitude to the judge for a fair decision. It often happens in life that a man completely trusts his chosen one. Sometimes love blinds the lover, he becomes deaf, he hears only his beloved, he simply loves. A truly loving man always has a pure soul and no one is immune from mistakes. The same can be said about women. Soon, having sold his apartment, car, dacha, Alexei Nikolaevich suddenly quit. All attempts to persuade the chief engineer on the part of the management and shareholders to stay and continue working were unsuccessful. Alexei Nikolaevich explained very simply, "Forgive me, friends, but I can't, I have to leave. Thank you all for your kind attitude towards me, but my decision is final." Everyone understood the true reason, sincerely regretted the departure of a talented leader and specialist. Pyotr, as a friend, was beside himself. His faithful friend Alyoshka was leaving him. Alexei confessed to him, "Petya, do you remember our friend Seryoga? We were all studying at the military flight school then. He got married and moved with his wife to eastern Siberia. 6 years ago, his wife and son died tragically. You were out of town, and I went to his funeral alone, helped him financially and supported him. An irreparable loss. He loved his wife, son, and the child she carried inside her very much. Grief bent him. He stopped flying, quit his job and went to the Tiger. He got a job as a gamekeeper and still lives and works there. I found out his exact coordinates and wrote a letter. Unexpectedly, I received a reply from Seryoga. He was waiting for me. He wrote that I had once helped him, and now he would help me. Kindred spirits feel pain in the same way. Pyotr couldn't take it anymore. There were tears in his eyes. "Alyoshka, how could I live without you? We've been together our whole lives. It's okay, come visit us, we'll hunt." I can't stay here. The money, he named the amount. I gave the entire amount I received for selling the apartment to Irina, the wife of the deceased pilot. A good woman, she cried. She regretted that I was leaving. She understands everything. I have had bad luck with women by fate, and I will not test it anymore. I will buy myself hunting gear. I bought Seryoga an excellent gun as a gift. Maybe I will work as a huntsman, like Seryoga. I am telling you now, but I can hardly hear myself. Time will tell how to live on. You know, Seryoga wrote in a letter that the tiger is the best healer for a bleeding soul. The tiger has its own laws, harsh, but fair. Only there will I find peace and forgiveness. The chance to start a new life, oddly enough, trouble gave me. The friends hugged. The next day, Alexei Nikolaevich flew away to distant, but already so close and native Siberia. The end.